Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Angie Moore-Fogan, and my pronouns are she, her. I serve as the chair of the Aesthetics Committee, part of the Worship Committee. The Aesthetics Committee brings seasonal decor and art shows to the congregation. If you are interested in art or decor, please consider reaching out to our committee. We'd love to have you. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. This morning, we welcome a guest speaker, Dana Moore, who is a lifelong practitioner of Love at the Center and a Master of Divinity graduate of Starr King School for the Ministry, and served as congregational coordinator at Beacon Unitarian Universalist congregation in Summit, New Jersey. When not nurturing her two beautiful children, Dana can be found preaching and singing about love, nibbling cheese, and hugging trees. I draw your attention to the back side of the order of service for announcement and service information for next week. For those of you on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do check out our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy International Women's History Day month, but today's the official day of Women's History Day and celebrating women. I will be playing two pieces today by two female composers, and this first work is by Lily Boulanger, a French composer who, even with all the praise we give her, she tends to be allocated into these two anecdotes, how she was the sister of Nadia Boulanger, a very famous teacher who taught many composers in France that would go on to become very famous names. Many you'll recognize, defining the 20th century from all over, from Piazzolla in Argentina and Copland. And she just had a way of teaching music that helped composers bring out their own style. But her younger sister, Lily Boulanger, the other anecdote is that she died so young, tragically, at 24 years old. And I think why we mention that so much is that it's such a loss for obvious reasons, but she had a very, very distinct voice, even from such a young age, outrageously talented. She was born the year that Brahms wrote those pieces I played last year, so you get a sense if she had lived well into the 20th century, what more music we would have had. And we still have quite a lot. She had such a gift of composing and adapting, and what was a very profound style for the French fin de siècle, end of the 19th century into the 20th century, but making her own thumbprint on it. And she left us some songs and preludes like this in a very advanced language, I'll say. So it's tonal, it's out there, but just so you'll hear some harmonies that are really make you listen closer, but can be jarring, but are used very beautifully. So the least we have is this. And I have full stick to the piano again because this is a very gentle piece, and although it gets broad, it has these moments where I'm playing, 9 notes in a chord, but every note counts.
Good morning, beloveds. My name is Dana Moore. I use she, her pronouns. I'm wearing dark glasses, a dark robe, and a black, gold, and red academic hood from Star King School for the Ministry. Please join me in taking a deep and grounding, centering breath. In through your nose and pushing the air out through your mouth. Feeling the weight of your body in your seat, on your feet, in your body. Be here. Be home. Be in love. I'd like to invite Liz and Ivan to light our chalice this morning. These words come from the UU Beacon Summit's high school youth group. It is the chalice lighting they open every meeting with. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. And now please join me by rising in body or spirit as we sing hymn number 95 in your hymnals, There Is More Love Somewhere. wisdom story this morning comes from the poet Naomi Shihab Nye, and it is called Gate A4, 1952. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal after learning my flight had been delayed for 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. "Help," said the flight agent. "Talk to her. What is her problem?" We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. "Shudawa? Shubid uk? Habibit? Stani shwe? Min fadlik? Shubut siwi?" The minute she heard any word she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we're fine. You'll get there. Just later. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons, just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade Demamul cookies, little powdered sugar, crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers. 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant, always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost.
Now I'd like to welcome Dave Schreier.
Hi, my name is David Schreier. My published pronouns are he and him. I serve as your congregational council moderator, and I stand on ground once populated by the Unami Lenape, specifically the Navasink. I am here to encourage you to consider making a generous pledge for the coming year to this beloved congregation of ours. For those of you who do not pledge at all due to tight circumstances, I encourage you to give just a little if you do benefit at all by your association with our community. For those of you who are new or simply would like to become more involved with community life at this congregation, please reach out and you will find a niche where you can both see direct results of your pledge as well as make a difference by contributing your time. I have been a member here since 2023. My path to UU was probably a common one to many of you. I did not enjoy the dividing lines that come with traditional religious backgrounds and the sense of the other looming large. I wanted to practice my interfaith with those who believed in universalist ideas and to whom social justice was not a byproduct of religious faith, but a central tenet. After a short time attending services in Montclair, I knew the UU path seemed correct for me, but it wasn't until retirement to the New Jersey Shore that I followed up on this interest and became a regular attendee here in Lincroft. I have found friendship and community here, and for that I'm forever grateful. Getting involved here in UUCMC has been quite rewarding. In my duties on council, I get a glimpse of what various committees do and can attest to the need for your annual pledge and assure you the funds are being put to good use as we all expect. Last year, I told you about my participation in the writers group that meets monthly for bagels. Bring your own coffee, maybe a heater, to participate in non-judgmental writing. And of course, Covenant Circle, which functions as a support group to any who participate and explores our faith. This year, I became more active in social justice, both as a vehicle to help some of my mutual aid and immigrant support efforts in my home of Asbury Park, but also to further local awareness of the aforementioned First People, the Lenape, whose diaspora is in Wisconsin, Oklahoma, and Ontario, Canada. While these social justice efforts are nice, it is important to remember that there are many of us not struggling in a financial sense or as an underserved minority, but are struggling nonetheless. Especially as we age, we may feel a general and growing sense of loss of respect and kinship that many of us were once afforded. The implicit and explicit kinship is one of the reasons I am here and a member of this UUCMC community, nothing whatsoever to do with age. Giving of ourselves in any way makes us happier and wholesome, more happier, wholesome. Whether it is our time, our money, or our know-how, we contribute to and for the larger good. The pledge we ask for today provides assurance that this work can continue beyond the short term and allow us to plan and flourish. For givers, please give a little more. For non-givers, even those who give much of your time and experience, please just focus on turning the zero into a non-zero. The fact that your name is connected with that non-zero means you count yourself in the community. Now, I can speak for most people in leadership that we love compliments. So if you have good words to share, just love to hear them. There are some who may have other words to share. Please do not hold back, but do communicate with someone in UUCMC that you trust. I simply ask that you do so in a private, and respectful manner. Maybe you will not get full satisfaction, but more often than not, you will be pleasantly surprised by the response you receive, and you may be more likely to give. By your presence here, you show you need us. We need you too. Thank you very much.
Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. As the U.S. government withdraws from United Nations entities involved in climate change, human rights, health, and peace building, the International Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women, an NGO with consultative status, is the one Unitarian Universalist organization we consistently advocating for those issues that reflect our values at the UN. We know that UUs are not isolationists. Honoring our global faith, we also work with UU and Unitarian churches around the world on projects that especially benefit women, their children, and their communities. Our latest project with the UU Church in Kenya is working with Maasai women on food sustainability. We are grateful for the support of UUCMC and your generous donations. For those of you present here at the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. Online, instructions are located in the service description box. You may join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to the International Convocation of Unitarian Universalist Women. Please give generously.
The Reverend Dr. Sherry Prudhomme is a professor at Starr King School for the Ministry. She has also offered writings on our values that you can find on our UUA website. Of love, she says, the great heresy that, and I paraphrase, the great heresy that caused our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors to be denied pulpits and a voice was that the nature of God is love. No pulpit time for you. We don't want to hear what you have to say. If you believe that the goddess and the divine are deeply grounded in love, are you surprised? Our Universalist ancestors believed that it was the action and the journey of life that brought us closer to the divine. Our Unitarian ancestors believed that it was the unfolding of life and its understanding that to become more godlike. More than 250 years of history amongst the two brought us together in a shared understanding where both separate faiths affirmed that God is love. I want to begin this morning with a truth that many of us carry quietly. The truth of what it felt like to witness the events in Minnesota, whether from the streets themselves or from the couch at home. The truth of what it meant to be called to love in the middle of winter, in the middle of an occupation, and to answer that call from wherever we stood, sat, lay. The Trump administration's deployment of more than 4,000 federal agents into the Twin Cities lasted 10 weeks. Known as Operation Metro Surge, it resulted in thousands of arrests and the deaths of 2 United States citizens, and the displacement of fear so deep that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz acknowledged what many in immigrant communities already knew. The trauma inflicted, he said, was unlike anything Minnesota had ever witnessed. When the border czar, Tom Homan, announced the drawdown in February of 2026, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey said plainly what our faith had been proclaiming all along. They thought they could break us, but a love for our neighbors and a resolve to endure can outlast an occupation. Let's pause on that for a moment. Love, not force, not policy alone, not politics. Love outlasted an occupation. And while federal agents have withdrawn and Operation Metro Surge has officially ended, the work of love is not finished. As one restaurant owner shared in the Twin Cities, there is a lot of damage left here for us to clean up, but love will do that cleaning too. So this morning, let us reflect on how we are called to love, from near and afar, right here at home and many, many cities away, in our bodies, in our breath, in our unity and our song. There is love. I want to offer these 3 ideas Not points to check off and set down, but 3 living commitments that we carry forward as descendants of those early Unitarians and Universalists. The first that I have come to understand in this time is that love is found where you are. I am of the clergy members who received the call to go to Minnesota. I am not one who made the journey, however. I am a mother. I'm a person with invisible disabilities and an arthritic knee that locks up in sub-zero temperatures. Had I gone to Minnesota, I could not embody an effective ministry there. I understood that my presence could actually exhaust the system and diminish the efficacy of my colleagues' work. I could not have run for safety, my own or another's. An arrest for me as an out-of-state resident could cog the system, throw off the plans, and take up much-needed resources that would be better utilized for those able to do the work, yes? I couldn't bear the thought of leaving my children if something happened, and something was, in fact, happening. So when my dear colleague, Errol de los Santos, a fellow seminary graduate and director of congregational life at the Oneonta UU congregation. Errol is also a first-generation Filipino immigrant and queer candidate for UU ministry. When Errol asked if I would serve as his spiritual companion and safety contact during his time in Minnesota, I said yes. I knew that this was something I could do if I could not take the journey. Though my heart was aching, just as many of yours may have been, to be present and to be witness, to bring love and shelter human lives, I knew that I could enact the sacred prayer of love right here at home. I held prayers and words of affirmation for Errol and our spiritual leaders all over New Jersey and our nation. I was the keeper of his confidences, his family contacts, his doctor's information, even his directives. And with an extra pair of gloves and a full tank of gas, I drove Errol to the airport. My heart ached to join him, but instead I responsibly centered on the love that was mine to give right here. You see, my friend Errol had already been at the front lines. He had protested at Delaney Hall, a detention center just 10 miles from his home in Essex County, New Jersey, the same facility that has made headlines here in New Jersey even before it opened in October 2025. At a protest in May, ICE agents pushed and shoved him, trying to break the line that our clergy held. He did not move. He tried his best against their might. Immigrants are the driving force of this country, he said. It's not fair to lock people up for no reason. In January 2026, when the clergy call came again, Errol said yes, moved by love, moved by the spirit of an anti-fascist witness. He said yes. And for those of us who stayed home, we held space in the ways that we could. Yes? Do you recall this time? Do you recall the ache in your belly where conflict lived within you? The heat, the cold, the absence, the void. How do we love into these realities that we live? We lit candles. We sat with community members. We watched the screens closely and felt in our bodies the weight and fire of what was happening. Maybe you felt it in your belly, in your breath, hot and strong. Maybe you saw it in your writing, expressed it in your art or prayers and the words that you could not speak aloud. This is where I want to invoke the wisdom of Reverend Renoir Hamami, whose prayer names what our tradition must never stop seeing: people, humans, individuals, the many. Love at the center means it is not reserved for those with the loudest presence, the most visible sacrifice, or the coldest toes. Love is found where you are, within you, wherever you stand, wherever your post is. That is where love must be present. This is what our faith today asks of us, to center love always. Unity is our most powerful act of love. And in these times, unity is one of the most important messages that we can share and hold in honor of the work that has been done before us and the work of those we love that is happening right now. Our UU tradition is more than 200 years old. And in those 2 centuries, our ancestors, abolitionists, suffragists, civil rights workers, advocates, and organizers of every generation understood something that we must reclaim right now. That our collective voice, unified, is exponentially more powerful than any of our individual expressions alone. Yes? We are called in this hour to echo the words of those directly impacted, to echo the witness of activists and organizers, abolitionists and advocates who have come before us and are on the ground doing the work. Those who are present and show up beside us right now. To carry forward the moral clarity of our ancestors who refused to let meanness and comfort stand in place of courage and love is our work. Frederick Douglass understood this. Susan B. Anthony understood it. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King understood it. James Luther Adams understood this moment. They knew that the greatest threat to justice was the fracture of the faithful, fractured communities, a far deeper wound than any force of the opposition. And so I say plainly, the most effective display of love available to us in this moment is unity. A unified voice, a unified witness. When we set aside the menial differences, the ones that feel so important in ordinary times but shrink to nothing in the face of an attack on human dignity, we become something the opposition cannot easily dismantle. We become the many. When it was reported that ICE agents were releasing detainees into negative 20-degree weather without their coats, shoes, or personal effects, Ordinary people organized. Some drove warm cars through the streets and quietly circled to find those that were just released, pressing coats and hats and hot drinks into their hands. Others crocheted hats and mittens. Others showed up to march. Many made phone calls and sent out resources. None of them asked one another their denominational affiliation before they helped. They didn't stop to debate who had the more refined theology of accompaniment. They put love at the center, and together, unified, they kept people alive. This is the work of the moment that we are meeting, that we are called to. Setting aside what is small in the face of the grave, aligning our different gifts under a shared and sacred purpose. This is the disciplined, demanding, deeply worthy work of love. When we turn inward, when we let our minor disagreements become our major preoccupations, we lose. We lose the power that love offers us. And we must do this now. The call for love is too urgent to deny. Our breath and song as a people are a force. Our voices are powerful. Just as we sang, there is more love somewhere. The more we sing it, the more we say it, the more our bodies believe it. I want to talk about something that our bodies already know, even when our minds forget it. What happened in the streets of Minnesota when our beloved, standing in the cold, began to sing is quite another UU miracle. Science has been catching up to what our spiritual ancestors understood for generations. Research confirms that communal singing triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Serotonin, the lifting and mood hormone, and singing together helps us to deepen trust. When people sing together, their hearts literally synchronize. Studies in neuroscience and social psychology have documented that group singing aligns our voices and our nervous systems, our breath patterns, and our very heartbeats. What researchers describe as becoming a single, unified pulse. This is what happens when we sing together and our voices are unified. We sync up in love and in power. One study found that even just 6 minutes of singing together was enough to produce meaningful increases in social bonding between strangers. The effect, researchers noted, is both strong and rapid. This is not a metaphor. This is biology. This is the science we believe in. This act of unification in song is the body enacting love. And it is no accident that the songs of freedom movements, from the spirituals of enslaved people to the anthems of the civil rights movement to the chants in the streets of Minneapolis, have always preceded and sustained the work of justice. Our ancestors didn't sing because they had extra time. They sang because they understood in their bones that song is how the many become one. Group singing, friends. How many of us like to sing out here? Yes, wonderful. I can't wait to hear your community choir one day. But group singing, research tells us that evolved as a tool of social survival. Group singing evolved as a tool for social survival. Those who sang together bonded deeply and endured. In cultures across the world and across time, communal singing has been how communities transmit vital information, build loyalty, and brace one another against threat. The songs of our tradition, our hymns, our chants, our rounds, and our anthems are not decorative, catchy little jaunts, though they may be nostalgic at times. They are load-bearing. They hold up the people who are trying to hold up the world. I want to tell you that one of my joys on Sunday mornings in UU spaces is the social hour after a service, after we've all come out singing and coffee is served all around. I've never been moved to tears over a pot of coffee before. But on that Thursday morning, when so many of our religious leaders were flying out to Minnesota, as I moved through my church building, readying it for colleagues that were staying here in New Jersey, my mind full of the lists and ordered steps of what I needed to take care of, my heart heavy with all that was happening, I came upon a table fully set with tea and coffee, waiting. Someone had been there before me, quietly tending what I was rushing toward. I shed a few tears of comfort, joy, and gratitude, because that is also love. That simple act of readying the tea for the next morning. Quiet, unheroic, necessary love at the center of ordinary things. I messaged my minister after I dried my tears and took a sip of my coffee. And I thanked her for all that she does and continues to do while she was out there in that cold, brutal weather. When I could not be in Minnesota, my mind was there. My prayers were there. The flame of our chalice was there. I listened over and over to the recordings of our people singing in the cold, their voices rising, their breath visible in the air, their heartbeats falling into rhythm together. That sway that we all fall into. And I recognize something special and quiet in that sound. The place of power we often take for granted. Our breath, our voice, our song. These are not soft offerings. Our songs are armaments of love, refined over centuries of struggle. When you echo the words of our spiritual ancestors, you don't just remember them, you extend them. You bring them into the present, and you connect to a language of history and generations. As Dr. Ashley Bocci named one of my dear professors at Starr King, when we quote our ancestors or cite our ancestors in the academic sense, we signal where our values come from. We are bringing forth an ancient language to those new and learning and hearkening back to all that has been shared, we honor our ancestors when we echo those words. When you echo the words of our spiritual ancestors and our current activists, you become the next verse of a song that began long before you were born and will continue long after. Harriet Tubman sang. Fannie Lou Hamer sang. The marchers in Birmingham sang. The protesters at Delaney Hall sang. Our colleagues in Sub-Zero Minnesota sang. And we must also keep singing. When you raise your voices here in this sanctuary, you join that chorus, whether you are near or afar. You add your heartbeat to the unified pulse of love flowing through the world. So I ask you, friends, that you remember every time you sing to tend the love that is yours to give from wherever you are. Set aside what is small and build the unity that is worthy of this moment. Echo the words of the impacted, the advocates, the abolitionists, the ancestors. And finally, sing. Sing in this room and sing in your car and in your kitchen. Sing the songs of resistance so that the children hear them and learn them, so that our children know them so deeply that the melodies embrace them like a warm hug when they are heard and felt. And when your spirits are low and downtrodden, when the call of love rises from within or calls us from afar, let your breath be your power. Let your voice be a part of your witness. And let the songs of our traditions carry you and carry one another forward. May we continue to center love with each breath and each action. Amen.
Florence Price was a composer, pianist, vocalist. She wrote a lot of songs and art songs, so she too was a singer. The first female and African-American composer to receive a performance by a major symphony orchestra in the United States. So she grew up in the United States during that first half of the 20th century. I think she passed in 1953, so she just missed all of when the civil rights movement was happening. And so to get a performance is, considering all of that at that time, is incredible. And she, like many other female composers now, are among the many female composers finally getting more recognition. And this piece is a solo piece for organ, simple, just a pastoral piece about love and about adoration. It's chosen in response to Dana's beautiful sermon, and she was an organist and pianist, mainly a pianist, but she sang, and she loved music, obviously, so it doesn't have any text, it's just her, a love letter to music. And yeah, hearing all that, it really does, that seems to be the one industry that men have no interest in dominating, love and compassion and all of that. It's just more, so long as that men in power, there'll always be wars and pain and suffering and death. So I loved what Reverend Dana said about singing and how important that is. allocating, we don't really have a better word in English as just entertainment, allocating music as entertainment, arts and entertainment, coming here. I mean, it's more of a spiritual practice, and it's the vibrations of that is healing and so important. And it reminds us that love and music are like this, they go hand in hand.
Thank you, Michael. Such a beautiful piece. I wonder if anyone else thinks of their bodies as a viscous puddle of water when they hear music and see the notes pinging at them, like droplets of water falling in reverse. I love the way the music has fallen into my spirit this morning. And I want to invite you into that sensation and that feeling. I want to invite you into that awareness. Where does this music touch you? Where do these words light you up, stir conflict, incite you, call you to action or care? And as you listen, I invite you to use your breath. When you feel something, let it out in a sigh. Use your voice and feel free to say amen. You can even sing if you are called. This prayer I mentioned by the Reverend Renoir Hamami is called To the Many. To the ones who don't make headlines, the ones who are disappeared in silence, the ones whose fate will never be known, the ones who don't have a perfect narrative, the ones who deserved every bit of our resistance, but we failed to show up in time. I see you, the many. The ones who visited the prison cell, the ones who let water and left water in the desert, the ones who cried at the makeshift memorial because no body was released, the ones who answer the phone calls, pleading for intervention, the ones who have been on the front lines without a choice, waiting for decades for someone to notice. I see you, the many. The ones who cannot stay at the encampment, but can drive by with food and supplies. The ones who cannot lead the marches, but can offer the childcare. The ones who cannot join if masks are not required, but can coordinate mutual aid. The ones who cannot show up again until citations, probations, or warnings expire, but can train others to take a shift. The ones who cannot be in the photos but have been in the struggle, quietly resisting simply by existing. I see you, the many. The many are the reason we are still here. The many are the reason we are still fighting. The many are the reason we are still loving, still creating. The many are the reason we will win. I see you, the many. Thank you. Amen. It is love that will guide us in the end, yes. It is love that calls us to be here with one another, and it is love that calls us on the journey toward justice. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and sing with us hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. There is another beautiful verse I learned to that song. It says, "You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children, to the future of this world where we live. May it be love that continues to guide us. May it be the traditions, the songs, and the voices of our ancestors that hold us and keep us rooted. And may it be our hope in the future of our children that allow us to fly on those wings of justice. May it be so.